You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and we are joined this week by a very special guest, admittedly somebody who I've wanted to get on the podcast for a long time, but we are joined by the Chief Operating Officer of Rocky Mountain Construction, Jake Kilcup. Jake, welcome to the Coaster101 podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's fun to be on this.
You know, I know you've done a couple other podcasts before. You know, we love the drunk riders as much as everybody else does, but you know, we're gonna, like I said, I've been jealous of them ever since you were on their show, whenever it was, all that time ago. But we finally got you. Obviously, 2023 has been a huge year for Rocky Mountain Construction. Let's just dive right into 2023 and kind of what the year has been. Obviously, you guys opened two brand new coasters, Air Force One at Fun Spot Atlanta down in Georgia, as well as Wildcats Revenge at Hershey Park. Let's start there. What is guest feedback and park feedback been like for you and Rocky Mountain Construction on those two kind of world-class coasters that have opened this year?
Yeah, it's been very positive, which it typically is. I mean, let's face it, this is a great community to be a part of. So people aren't typically negative for no reason. But yeah, Air Force One opened earlier this year. Had a ton of fun there at the grand opening and getting to ride that thing for the first time. I mean, that one had some difficulties on the installation side with some hiccups that we had on the permitting. So it was a little delayed. And so, you know, when you have to wait a little bit longer for something, it always feels a little better to get her open. But, you know, I think that project, you know, when it first was announced that we were doing something with Fun Spot Atlanta, I think a lot of people assumed it was going to be a smaller ride. But when John Jr. and the team came to us, they said, "Hey, you know, no holds barred. We want to make a splash," and you know that was exciting because it was like perfect. And I love it when we can kind of 180 the community where everybody has it pegged as one type of project, and we come out and just drop the hammer. And you know it's not a 200-foot tall coaster, but I think the feedback I've seen is that it packs the punch of a hyper. It's an aggressive coaster, which is what the Fun Spot team really asked for, and it's a ton of fun. It's got some incredible elements. You know, we had some zoning restrictions that we had to work with on that site that really forced some creativity. You know, shout out to Joe Draves on the layout there. Some of the elements there. You know, that barrel roll over the building is just incredible. Turned out better than could have been expected. So super excited about that project. The park's been very positive about it, and the fans seem to be enjoying it as well. You know, and then a little bit later, we went up to Pennsylvania and opened up Wildcats Revenge, which was a ton of fun. Being a reprofile, those are special kind of difficult projects. There's a lot to go through, analyze, and reinforce on some of those older structures, but it also allows you the ability to kind of build on the history that already existed. You know, we often say it's not about erasing what existed already. It's about standing on the shoulders of something that came before us and trying to, you know, breathe new life into it. You know, hopefully that the park seems to be very happy with it. The fans seem to be happy with it. So hopefully we're successful in maybe taking an old ride that people weren't riding quite as much as they used to, and just reinvigorated that energy. And I love it when they keep a little bit of the history and the name, and you know, Hershey did a great job with all the theming there, and you know, reusing the existing station as much as they could. And those reprofiles have a special place. I mean, they're very difficult projects, but you know, the old wooden structure with that bright track just really pops. I love that. And then they elected to go with the making our substructure, the steel parts that support the track, all black, which I think turned out really well. So great projects, super fun. Been great to watch the feedback from people all summer, and yeah, just can't wait to see how the reviews come in when a few more people get on them, you know.
I love it. And I'm one of those people. I've yet, despite being an East Coast person, I've yet to get down to Fun Spot Atlanta. I've yet to ever visit Hershey Park, which is just embarrassing to admit at this point, 100 plus episodes into a podcast. I do have to ask on Wildcats Revenge, though. Those trains, the lead car specifically, are some of the it's one of the most impressive coaster trains I've ever seen. Did you guys do all that in-house?
So we have a company that we work with on the fiberglass side of things. So we don't do any fiberglass in house, but it's local. They're a couple miles down the road from our facility here in Idaho. He's an incredible artist. I mean, you can just see it in his workmanship. We'll get a sketch from the park or an artist saying, "Hey, this is what we're looking to create," and Paul does just an amazing job of taking the essence of what they're looking for and just bringing it to life. And there's a lot of complications when it comes to those nose cones. It's not just can we create the looks of it, but they're on a roller coaster that's going through intense G forces and speeds, and so there's structural components there that we have to accomplish as well. So trying to take the artist's renderings and implement that, but structurally support it, is always a difficult task. But yeah, I think that Paul and the team did an incredible job putting those things together. Absolutely love the way those turned out.
That's wild to me that this portion of Idaho that you're in, obviously Silverwood's right down the road. You guys are up there. You've got a world-class fiberglass manufacturer. All of this can be found in like what again, as an East Coaster, can be described as kind of like that little narrow strip of Idaho. That is wild to me that's right, all right there. But another project that you guys worked on early this year, I think that kind of came out of left field a little bit to coaster enthusiasts, at least until Midway Mayhem was on the ground and started taking pictures of the 208 retrack, was Mind Blower, Fun Spot down in Kissimmee. Obviously, another Fun Spot project that you guys are working on. Maybe one day you'll have something at the Orlando park and kind of hit the trifecta here. But how did the Mind Blower project come about? And then, based on guest feedback, I know when I wrote it, it was a little jackhammery, and this was pre you guys kind of reinventing it and reinventing portions of the track. But how did that project come about, and did it kind of get the results that both you and Fun Spot wanted?
Yeah. So our 208 retrack is something that we have probably not marketed as well as we should have been. I know in the past people might be familiar with our product that we called Topper Track, which was a steel beam with a laminated wood. It's kind of a mix of a hybrid track, I guess. But we moved away from that product for a few reasons, and the 208 is essentially the Gen 2 of that product, which its initial the hole we're trying to fill there is the ability for parks to come in and replace sections of track rather than having to replace their entire track or completely reprofile the ride. So lowering the price point, not changing the layout of the ride, just adding some rigidity to the track and smoothing things out. So that 208 product, it's a great product. We're excited about it, and Fun Spot, with working with them in Atlanta, just kind of naturally came to the discussion of doing some track work on Mind Blower, and we ended up going in and replacing a few sections of the wooden track. It's a Mind Blower's a great layout. There's no reason to mess with the layout at all. It's just that that's aggressive. That's an aggressive ride. So the wood just wasn't holding up as well as they had hoped, and it doesn't help that it's in Florida where it gets some serious environmental exposure. So we went in and just essentially replaced product for product, just with a steel product instead of a wooden product to help smooth that out. And it went really well, and we hope to continue on that. But on the long term, and that's the other benefit of the 208 track. 3 years in a row, we've installed portions of that track up here at Silverwood on a
Hmm.
couple of their wooden coasters, and just being able to fit into their maintenance budget rather than brand new capex. We're just hitting it a little bit at a time, and freeing up some of their maintenance teams throughout the seasons that way. So yeah, it's been going really well for us, and we have a lot of interest, a lot of people talking to us about that track. So hopefully, you'll be seeing a lot more of that out there.
And it was a really, at least in my opinion, I don't know the timelines of everything. To me, it seemed like a really, really quick turnaround from announcement to deconstruction to reconstruction to reopening.
Yeah, it is a very, very quick project, since we're not, we're eliminating it's just a track replacement like you do if you came in there and just replaced the wooden stack, right? So, and we've been working hard on our track to track splices. So we have a joint that's kind of interlocking and helps bring things together. All those joints get fit together in our shop before they leave. We did do the install on Mindblower, but all of the track installations at Silverwood have been done by the park. So the goal is that we are creating a product that doesn't require as much specialized labor. So if you did just want to purchase the product and install it yourself or contract somebody else to do so, that's something we can do, and we can send somebody out to give you technical support throughout that installation. So again, just trying to mitigate costs. If we're going to install something somewhere else, just logistically, we're coming out of Idaho, so we have some expenses that we got to cover: hotels, travel, etc. If a park's capable, or they have a local contractor who's capable, we can send one guy out to just kind of be the walking, talking installation manual to help coach them through it. And what we found at Silverwood is we've been making modifications to the designs based off of their feedback, but these last installs didn't even have a conversation, just sent the track out, and next thing you know, it's already in and they're testing it. It's really not super complex.
I love it. It seems like a good symbiotic relationship between you guys and the parks, especially if a place like Silverwood can give you feedback, which improves it for the next people, things like that. So it is really cool to kind of see that symbiotic relationship. And on the subject of symbiotic relationships, what a segue. I'm so excited about that. Another thing that I think kind of took the greater amusement industry by surprise earlier this year is you guys and Larson. You guys managed, or you merged, and
Mm-hmm.
you're now separate companies, but one company. Can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, everyone was now convinced that RMC was going to start manufacturing Larson loops, and that's, as coaster enthusiasts, what nobody really wanted to hear. But I think there's way more to it than that, obviously.
Yeah, no, so there's a lot there, but so the owner of Larson, Jeff Novotny, has lived up in North Idaho on and off for the past decade plus. So our founder Fred Grubb and him have been friends just because they're in the industry and they're both in North Idaho. So we've known Jeff for a really long time, and Jeff was looking to kind of retire and get out of the hustle and bustle a little bit, but Jeff's the type of guy that really, really cares about his employees. So he was very careful about who he would allow to kind of take the reins. I can imagine how it's difficult to let go of something you've been a part of for so long. He's really comfortable with us at RMC because he spent a lot of time at the shop, and so kind of naturally those discussions started about the acquisition. And it was something that RMC really needed as well. Just everything we do is big and custom. So being able to have a portfolio that goes to the bottom of the pyramid a little bit more, where you have a larger customer base but more competition, it's not a bad thing. It allows us to have more conversations with more potential customers. We have more to offer them. We were able to expand our facilities, essentially, duplicating our manufacturing capabilities. And having a facility in Texas has been great. We've been down there a few times. We have RMC staff and Larson staff integrating and going back and forth. And, it's, if you can build on their knowledge and their abilities and vice versa, we're sharing information and we're streamlining processes, and we're working to improve always. But yeah, again, it's expanding the portfolio is a huge deal. Being able to service more than just maybe some of the largest park chains in the world is helpful.
Yeah, and I know Larson is right down there in Texas, right where the National Roller Coaster Museum is, and I think that's a good tie-in for you guys as well. I think I remember reading in the press release when it came out back in April. Man, this year has just flown by. But it kind of allowed you guys to support the National Roller Coaster Museum. I know Larson donated the land for that. So again, all this symmetry and symbiosis is it is really cool to see in the industry. And just to confirm that as IAAPA comes up, both RMC and Larson will still be their own respective companies, but exhibiting together separately. How is that going to work?
So don't know for sure long term. We'll probably consolidate, but this year at IAAPA Florida, we'll have two separate booths. Essentially because the way IAAPA works is everybody was already signed up. So
love it.
But yeah, we'll have two different presentations. But I think the goal is that we're really meshing. We don't want to operate as two separate entities. We want to become one more powerful, higher performing entity. So.
I love it. Well, Larson is known for their family portfolios, and you guys over the years have been more so on the high thrill attractions. I mean, I think I can speak for the greater enthusiast community that a Rocky Mountain construction coaster is the highest form of thrills you can find, depending on if it's a retrofit of an old existing coaster, if it's a ground up installation. But recently, you set social media on fire a little bit, and you got the entire coaster community to come together and stop bickering for like 15 minutes. With the introduction of your newest family coaster model, what can you tell us about the Wild Moose?
We have been wanting to do a family coaster for so long. It's just everything that we do is 48-inch ridership because, like you mentioned, it's pretty intense. But we've been wanting to break into that little bit smaller market. Just we've got a lot of coaster enthusiasts with kids reaching out to us saying, "Hey, when are we gonna get something that my younger kid can get on and get kind of like an RMC, a junior RMC style coaster?" So the Wild Moose came about just because we were. We've invested quite a bit and expanded our engineering team so that we have the ability to be more forward thinking, plan for the future. So we do some design huddles where we throw out ideas for ride improvements on what we're currently doing or what's new coming down the pike, that sort of thing. And that's where the Wild Moose came up. It was hey, there's a lot of Wild Mouse coasters that are getting to the end of their life. And the Wild Moose name, I can't remember exactly who came up with it, but it was just like, it was perfect. But the real inspiration for the ride was, Alan Schilke worked with the company for such a long time. He always talked about how little kids can't really handle a whole lot. You put a kid in your wheelbarrow in the backyard and you kind of just push them around and shake them a little bit, and that's all the fun they need. And we have that on some of our pre-lifts, which is kind of an area where we've always kind of messed around a little bit, right? So we wanted to capture that spirit into a full ride. I mean, you really see that on Twisted Colossus out at Magic Mountain, where we have the pre-lift that just looks like it's out of Dr. Seuss. So that's the one thing we really wanted to be able to draw upon. We wanted to create that unique ride experience with the left and right rail looking like they're not even working together. They're different rides. And then it kind of creates that just fun bumbling around on the ride. But created an entire ride based around that with a train that's modeled to handle a lower ridership, but it's still fun for the whole family. And then we've got our signature flat box track. I envision like a bright color going through this more structured looking track. So you've got this juxtaposition of this crazy weird track going through this structure that's just very squared off and simple. And I feel like that's a very unique look that we can give that maybe other people can't. It's important to be able to differentiate from what's already out there. And putting out a smaller RMC coaster that hopefully the whole family can enjoy together.
I love it. And I don't know who on your team is managing the social media, but the teases that came out on, Twitter specifically with like capitalizing the O's and the what I'll call the puzzle piece day on National Roller Coaster Day, which it was us and Josh from the Station Weight podcast. We both got these and we said, okay, we're gonna figure this out, and opened up a shared Google slide sheet and just started placing images as we saw them come in. I mean, can you speak to kind of what went into that? I don't know if you had any role with that or who is managing your social media, but I do want to commend RMC as a whole for, again, uniting us for, an hour and 15 minutes, the entire coaster community. So we're not bickering over coaster counts or anything like that. But can you talk about that a little bit, the social media teases around the Wild Moose?
Yeah. So first of all, I take zero credit for anything Wild Moose related. Definitely didn't have anything to do with me. But we're pretty lucky in this industry that we're able to attract young, very talented people, because there's a large community of people that really want to design and work on roller coasters, and they're just passionate, through and through. So it's actually, our social media is run by one of our engineers, who's been an enthusiast his entire life, and he's got a mind for it, very creative. He's quite a bit younger than me, so he grew up in the social media era, so he's good at it. But yeah, from top to bottom, we just have a lot of passionate people that have great ideas, that want to play with the community. I think that's one thing that we've always liked to do internally, and not everybody does this, but we like to play with the fans. How many engineering groups have fans? That's that's not something that exists. So it's I think it's great that we have people that want to buy our merchandise and wear it around at the parks. These are the people who answer the surveys when the park sends out surveys, and what should we do next? It's not the general public responding. It's these diehards. And we appreciate that they are fans of us, and we want to support them. So I say hi to them and have fun with them as much as we possibly can, right? Like, I don't know, we don't want to ignore them at all. In fact, we employ a lot of them as well. So it's like, we appreciate the fans because they do a lot for us. I mean, they really help get our names out there, and push a lot of these projects that come to fruition is because of those enthusiasts out there talking to their local parks. So, we absolutely appreciate that.
I love it. Well, on the subject of fans, we kind of put it out there on social media that you might be joining us on the podcast, and wanted to ask just some fan submitted questions as it relates to Wild Moose. And one of the ones that kind of kept popping up is there any chance, are these all designed to be kind of permanent installations, or would there be a kind of a traveling Wild Moose that could possibly be on the horizon?
Yeah, we envision it right now as a permanent installation, but I do believe it has the potential for a traveling coaster as well. I mean, obviously we've recently partnered with somebody who has a lot of experience in traveling rides. There's a lot of complexities that go into a traveling ride that has to be disassembled, reassembled, shipped. There's a ton of complexity there, and the more I've spent time on some of these Larson projects, it's incredible to see the traveling rides, just the way things package. It's so well thought out. I have a real appreciation for the work that's gone into and how well perfected a lot of these rides are. So there's been potential. We've actually had discussions about the ability to have a mobile ride at some point on the coaster side, something a little bit bigger. I mean, you look at what Olympia looping does and things like that. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty cool to see that sort of stuff. So it's definitely interesting. I don't know. We don't really have a timetable for anything like that, but we have discussed it.
Okay, perfect. Again, I know you can't tell us everything, but it has been discussed. And so the other kind of an engineering nerdy question, we've got Nick on our team who is a engineer by trade. He asked if the wild moose would require concrete footers or if it could be built on kind of like a steel lattice frame, kind of like a traditional wild mouse would be.
Yeah, no, we can accommodate both. Right now, our intent is to probably go onto a slab foundation with some anchors, but we can definitely accommodate both. I mean, foundations are becoming a big deal in the industry. I mean, with inflation and with costs going up, foundations are a large portion of a lot of these rides, just cost wise. So anything we can do to help mitigate that, we're going to work on it. So that's a great question, and it's an important question. It's something that like I said, we're doing everything we can to be creative there.
Okay. And on the subject of creativity, I mean, there's always room for more theming and interactive elements to a ride like this, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. The whole idea of this is, here's our wild moose layout. This is a layout that we developed without, working with a specific customer. So this is a more out of a catalog style ride, but the platform has the potential for customization as well. So, if somebody really has a specific site or has a specific need they want to approach, we've laid the groundwork for the components that, we have the track system, we have the mechanical systems and the trains to be able to accommodate, something specific as well.
Okay. And on the subject of the trains, my personal question is, you guys highlighted the throughput in the release. I think it can do 800 people per hour theoretically. Mm-hmm. How does the train differ on the wild moose compared to a traditional 4 or 5 across wild mouse train? And if you can't talk about that, I know it hasn't really been released yet, but if you can't mm-hmm. talk about it, I understand.
Yeah, I can tell you, some of the higher level stuff, but the idea is that, RMC trains are, class 5 restraint because we're going negative G forces, and we're looking to go to a class 4 restraint system on this and hit a 42-inch ridership. So we're really looking to be as accommodating as possible. We're also trying to create a more open feel, kind of like we have in our Raptor trains, where you're up above the track a little bit and you're kind of free to move about a little bit more. We want to be a little bit more open, a little less boxed in than on our iBox trains currently. So I mean, those are kind of the main design goals on this. Is just going with the class 4 system. We can kind of go to a more economical style of train that can accommodate more ridership is the goal.
I love it. Okay, well, this is all. I'm loving all of this. And when the wild moose was released, mm-hmm. you don't have to tell me who. You don't have to tell me if it happened. Has there been interest, like immediate interest, once it was released? Have the phones been ringing off the hook in Idaho and or Texas?
We're having a lot of conversations about this. Absolutely. I think, again, this was a little bit of voice of the customer. So this is a little bit of feedback that the industry was telling us this is what they wanted. So it's been proving to be true. So yeah, we're having a lot of conversations, and again, the conversations aren't just with the major park chains anymore. Now that we're able to maybe talk to a broader customer base now. So who knows where this first moose will wander off to.
All that was missing was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge on the video. So, but that is fantastic. I can't wait. Obviously, I hope these come to fruition sooner rather than later. But on the subject of RMC rides that are kind of coming to fruition in the near future, we got to talk Fire in the Hole. And again, just like Hershey Park, Silver Dollar City is a park that embarrassingly I have not gotten to.
Okay.
But I want to ask you, first of all, what does it mean to kind of be able to carry on this legacy of this, very classic 50-year-old indoor wooden coaster? What does that mean to you and RMC to kind of be able to carry on that legacy to the next generation and, a bunch of new different riders and kind of carry on that story?
Well, it's kind of what we do, right? I mean, this goes right into the reprofile side of things. We have a relationship with Hershey. We work with them on a few different projects and have a good relationship with their team. And they reached out to us. It's been quite a while now that we started talking to them about this originally, but they weren't looking to do anything too crazy. It was wanted to just this is a very popular attraction. Wanted to keep it alive for years to come. And obviously, when Hershey does something, they do it big and they do it in amazing fashion. I mean, the park is so well themed and such a unique, fun place to go to. Silver Dollar City always had a ton of fun there. So they reached out to us and basically they weren't looking for anything too crazy, just making some improvements that they've learned over the past 50 years and want to just recapture the magic and relaunch it. And I think it's going to be a great attraction. It already is a great attraction. It's just going to be a more modern twist, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. And we're looking at 1,500 feet of track, a top speed of 26 miles per hour, almost 3 minutes of ride time. So you're going through some story scenes. You have some drops and twists and turns, and I'm sure there's the little bit of maybe a little bit of RMC undulation in there, depending on the angles of the photos we've seen that have been released so far. Does having the fact that you guys had never really again touched that family coaster demographic, this I don't want to suggest this is signaling a shift between Fire in the Hole and Wild Moose. I mean, obviously the bread and butter will still be some of the larger coasters, but what does it mean to you when a company like Hershey comes and says, hey, we know you've really done this. We've never really done a family size coaster before, but we want you to do it. I mean, does that just speak to the kind of the reputation that RMC has built in the greater industry?
Yeah, I think that speaks to our relationships with our customers, right? If we've worked with a customer and they're willing to come back or they we're top of mind when they have a new project, especially something that has some difficult things that need to be thought through and figured out. I mean, we take that we appreciate that they think of us. It speaks again to the relationship we have with our customers. Customer support after a ride opens is important to us. So I think that says volumes to how we interact with our customers and how they think about us. That they're looking to come back to us after we've already done a project together. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's always fun to work with old friends. So I mean, it just there's each other. It's a little bit more lighthearted and fun. I mean, obviously every project has its serious moments, but when you have a personal relationship with people, it makes the job a lot more fun.
Right, and the track for that one it's mostly complete, right?
The track for that one is all in place.
Okay. So we're full steam ahead once the show building and story are built out. But the RMC work, you're done. You're good. You're ready to go.
Yep.
What do you?
We're still working on some parts and pieces for that product right now, but track and structure are all in. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, so I'll probably stop there.
I understand. I'm not trying to get you, trip you up or put you in the leak of anything. So we're good. But
yeah, no problem.
I would be kicked off Coaster Internet if I didn't ask this next question.
Okay.
It's been announced. And the way Europe does coasters, like we know what coasters are coming in 2025, 2026, 2030, whereas in the States, like you can have a teaser online for 3 days and poof, a coaster opens next year. Is there anything you can tell us? And the answer to this question can be no. Is there anything you can tell us about the dual Raptor track coaster opening at Wallaby Holland in 2025?
Well, it sounds exciting. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's anything I can add to that.
Okay.
But
It's happening.
Like, it sounds like a really great project. That's very interesting.
Okay, very cool. I have to ask this question. You know, the internet it's fickle. It is very fickle.
For sure.
But Jake, really appreciate your time. Before we wrap this up, anything else you want to give to the Coaster 101 audience? You know, just even if it's, hey, come ride Fire in the Hole in 2024 and be on the lookout for a wild moose, or go down to Georgia and ride Air Force One, or literally any other coaster you guys have. I mean, anything else you want to kind of leave the Coaster 101 audience with?
Yeah. Please continue to ride RMC rides. Give us your feedback. Tell the parks that you want another one. We appreciate that. We love all you guys. We thank you so much for being, walking, talking salesmen at all these locations. We really appreciate that. And, this RMC team here, we have a lot of great people who really care about this industry and everybody in it. And just want to thank you guys for showing the love.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Coaster 101 podcast. We're on the internet at coaster101.com and also all forms of social media at Coaster 101. I had to think about social media just because I feel like it changes every week. Facebook, Instagram, whatever Twitter's calling itself these days, YouTube. Just go find us. For more on Rocky Mountain Construction, their website is rockymtnconstruction.com, and they are also on social media as well. And I'm going to butcher the thing. I have to look this up real quick. Let's see. I believe it's Rocky. Let's see. Rocky MTN CONST on Twitter for all the moose related social media content from one of RMC's engineers. If you're listening, make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, telling your friends to listen, telling people at parks to listen, telling parks to manufacturers, engineering groups to listen, because the more people who know about this show, the better guests we get, just like Jake. So, Jake, thank you again so much for joining us on the Coaster 101 podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's going to do it, and we will talk to y'all again soon. See ya. Awesome. Thanks, Jake. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Appreciate it.
So